I'm 5 years out of school and I still feel like I'm waiting to figure it out. This is not okay anymore. This is ridiculous. And I see myself doing much greater things. I actually had started seeing a life coach. I really enjoyed the way she was making me think. And so kind of through that process really started digging deeper into what the heck am I doing? And then I quit my job. The core of who I am over the last 8 years is Mana Up. We work with companies that are at a certain point and higher that are ready to scale. Mana Up focuses on a regional strength and competitive advantage that we believe Hawaii has that hasn't been as leveraged. The mindset shift that the entrepreneurs need to have to say, I am creating a badass global company from right here in Hawaii, and it's absolutely possible, and there's a road to it. At the end of the day, the brand of Hawaii is aspirational. Big part of it is, of course, the Native Hawaiian culture about wellness, sustainability. People believe anything sourced from here has magical powers, and it does. And you're gonna pay for it. And guess what? You should, because that's gonna help underwrite the kinds of companies that can make sense to be here because it is so expensive. My great uncle was a real thinker, like a deep thinker. Someone that made me realize that thinking differently was okay and thinking beyond. A really memorable experience I had with him was just like going on these hikes and learning about the trees and just taking a moment to just breathe and sit with yourself. And that was like really important to me, to start to notice what's around you and feeling something. And that was probably like the first time I ever had that opportunity to do that, because everything is just always like running around, soccer practice, tennis practice, this or that. But being in nature and really feeling like connected to your thoughts and moments.
Greater Good Radio, connect, learn, heal, and grow, is brought to you by Brain Gain Hawaii, a boutique executive recruiting, career development, and coaching firm. Learn more at braingainhi.com. Welcome to Greater Good Radio. Today we're here with Meli James, the co-founder of Mana Up.
Hi, Evan.
You are the co-founder of Mana Up, but you do so many different things. Like, how would you introduce yourself?
Definitely the kind of the core of who I am, especially over the last 8 years, is Mana Up. But I've always been a big proponent of entrepreneurship, small business, economic development for our state. One of the reasons I moved home was to help contribute to that. And so I think everything is kind of all encompassing of entrepreneurship and really being able to take ideas to greater heights that can create jobs and opportunity here in the state. It's really like that connecting piece of everything I do.
So how would you explain Mana Up to like a layperson?
I would say Mana Up is a business program that helps companies solve challenges so that they can scale and grow their businesses to create more jobs and opportunity. Mana Up focuses on a regional strength and competitive advantage that we believe Hawaii has that hasn't been as leveraged. Hawaii isn't profiting from its own brand, the brand of Hawaii, one of the most recognized and loved brands in the world. And that how do we use that competitive advantage to create a leg up or an opportunity for companies that are based here, that are, elevating the brand of Hawaii, that can become global brands.
So is it mostly the brand of Hawaii then you feel is the competitive advantage, or would it be like, for food items, you'd source it here or so on? Like, is it primarily the brand?
I'd say it's kind of under the brand, because at the end of the day, the brand of Hawaii is aspirational. It is a big part of it is, of course, the Native Hawaiian culture. A big part of it is about wellness, sustainability, and again, aspirational. It means so many things. Like even what you're saying, the products or sourcing of ingredients from here. People believe anything sourced from here has magical powers, and it does. And you're going to pay for it. And guess what? You should, because that's going to help underwrite the kinds of companies that can make sense to be here because it is so expensive. Like, we are not a commodity state. We've learned that, right? Sugarcane, pineapple are no longer, right? So we actually have to create value-add products that can command a higher price point, that can make it work, like make it like a pencil here, because we're an island chain in the middle of the Pacific. Shipping costs, packaging costs, labor costs, land costs, all these costs add up. And so how do we think about what will actually be sustainable here that can be underwritten based on price point? And also the value. Like, we've got beautiful quality products here. And so I think we've had all these amazing pieces, and we really thought about how do we create Mana Up as an accelerator and a whole infrastructure around what we've built so far, which is beyond just the accelerator now, that these companies can actually take these resources, mentorship, access to capital to grow.
Like other accelerators, basically they enter a cohort, you put some money in, take some equity, and then help them to grow and hopefully get more follow-on funding and so on, or is it different or what?
It is different. So a lot of the accelerators kind of followed a particular model where they, like just what you said they do. For ours, just because consumer packaged goods, consumer brands, product-based businesses are not traditional tech companies, where when a tech company starts, you're assuming you're going to raise money as part of like your growth path. With a lot of product companies, especially early on, they're like more slow growing and actually revenue generating way before they even come into Mana Up. So we at Mana Up don't even touch a company until they're at a minimum of 100,000 in annual revenue. So for example, a tech startup, totally pre-rev, sometimes single founder, that is not where we are. We don't work with startups. We work with companies that are at a certain point and higher that are ready to scale.
And they're all consumer goods?
They're all consumer packaged goods. Yeah, in 4 categories: health and wellness. We've got home, fashion, and food. I'd say half of the cohorts are in total are about our food.
Which category is the most underserved in terms of supply?
In terms of supply of resources?
Or like, somebody who's out there that says, hey, you know what, I got an idea or I have access to something or whatever. This is the area that you could apply your energy in and it would have the most chance of growth.
I would say food, just in the sense that there's so much more that comes into more of the food products that they need more resources. With a fashion company, you can have a beautiful design, put some patterns together and start going, right? With food, it's about sourcing, manufacturing, shelf life. Is it shelf stable and all those things? But there's a lot more that goes into it. Granted, there's a lot more resources now than there ever have been. Like the Wahiawa Value Add Food Center or Production Center in Wahiawa is opened a year ago. So that's an amazing new facility that's under Leeward Community College that's starting to fill these gaps. So that's been kind of the neat thing over the last 8 years. When we first started Mana Up, there were great programs that already existed, like the High Step program under DBED with around exports. But, I think since then, there's been a lot of great additional resources that have grown and just really thinking about where are the rest of the gaps.
How does all the dots connect and bring you to this Mana Up piece then? Like, it's kind of uniquely, you've been around this industry for a while. So like, how do they connect so I can get context on that?
Yeah. So, I was born and raised here on Oahu and went away to college and then was in Silicon Valley for about 11 years. Started my first company in 2007, had some success with startups, more in the tech space, especially in the mobile app world. And then decided to move home in 2012 to really help grow an innovation ecosystem here in the state. I fell in love with entrepreneurship, what it could do for a community. Obviously, Silicon Valley is a very mature area, but I thought, hey, why can't we have something like this here? And with my experience, having started a few companies at that point, come back and contribute. And so that was really where my love started. I moved back home, quickly got scooped up by Blue Startups and really helped grow that program, which was an incredible experience. And then started working with the University of Hawaii around intellectual property being born out of UH, helping to commercialize. All these pieces were really interesting to me, but I kept thinking, what else is there? And how do we start thinking about what's going to really be embedded in a company that's going to make sense for it to not just start here, but stay here and thrive here? And what is that competitive advantage or regional strength? And really coming down to the conclusion that it is the brand of Hawaii that is recognized globally, loved, aspirational. People save up their whole lives. People never come here, but still know Hawaii can be in the middle of anywhere. You say Hawaii, they know exactly what you're talking about. And it's pretty powerful. And so what could that look like if you were going to create a program with resources, mentorship, access to capital? What are the kinds of companies that can leverage, elevate the brand most, not just appropriately, but potentially successfully? And there are a lot of data points, right? So there's Mauna Loa chocolates, there's Hawaiian Host, Honolulu Cookie. There's a lot of great examples of companies that have elevated the brand of Hawaii that have been very successful. And so again, these are data points saying, okay, this isn't like a pie in the sky idea. Maybe one day we can have a company like this. We have examples. We also have examples of companies from the mainland who are leveraging our brand of Hawaii, who have sold for a lot of money. So Hawaii, again, not profiting from its own brand, but other people are. And I'm not here to pinpoint or poke fingers at anybody doing it. Our whole goal was to help grow companies that are quality companies that have the potential to scale so that we as a community can actually start building businesses at that level. How awesome would it be to have 100 more Hawaiian hosts? How amazing would that be from a job standpoint, from an opportunity standpoint, where we have director, vice president, CEO level positions where people can go all the way up, and it's headquartered here. So decision-making leadership's here. Like that, to me, like our big hairy goal starting One Up was to help grow 100 companies earning 10 million or more in annual revenue. So what would $1 billion do for the state, and what would that look like from a job standpoint? So the idea behind Mana Up was ultimately saying, okay, great. And of course I have a co-founder, Brittany, which we can talk more about as well. She's a whole other slew of like skill set, which really came together with the two of us starting this company together. What have I learned, not only being an entrepreneur, but also being from Hawaii, but also having built programs and really getting specific around companies that have not gotten any attention. Back in the day, it was like, oh, that's a nice hobby. Or like, oh, some kids from the high school competition had a product company. Oh, isn't that nice? And saying, you know what, actually, there is something here. And this isn't like a hobby, not to be taken seriously industry. And that if we put some, brain power behind it, some money behind this and some real programming behind it, what could actually happen? And really, this had never been done before in Hawaii.
So how did you meet Brittany, and how did this come about then?
So Brittany, she has an incredible career prior to moving to Hawaii. Actually, she's one of the co-founders of 1776, which was very like ahead of its time, not only a global incubator, but also a venture fund that was helping to solve more government challenges.
That's in the mainland?
Based in DC. She met and married a Maui boy. Oh. And so kind of part of their whole relationship growing was he always said, we're going to move back to Maui at some point to raise our family. And so at a certain point, they had a couple of kids and he said, I think it's time. And she said, great, let's do it. So she moved back here back in 2016. We met basically 2 weeks later at a pauhana, really hit it off. And I just really liked her. And so I wanted to introduce her to people in Maui. That's how it started.
Oh, so you're in Maui. She had moved back to Maui.
She moved to Maui, yeah. Mm-hmm. She still lives in Maui.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with her family. And so she had come over to Oahu for a pauhana, and that's where we met. But I just really liked her as a person. So wanted to just introduce her to people I knew on Maui. That was kind of it at first. And then as I was starting to develop this super basic concept of Mana Up, and she and I actually fully built it together. But this idea of like, what else? I was having lunch with a mentor who said, Meli, this is interesting, but you know who'd be really good for you to partner with? Brittany. And I was like, really? I hadn't thought about that. But yeah, I should get together for lunch. So we got together for lunch, and like the rest is history. So we just started building together. We have incredible complementary skill sets. What I hate doing, she loves. What she hates doing, I love. So it's been really nice partnership. And so, so we launched Mana Up in 2017. We started working on the concept in June. I think in November, we had our launch party. And then January was our first cohort. And that's been just an incredible ride.
What would you say is the number one success story coming out of that?
God, there's so many. We have 95 companies that have graduated. And I think...
Get one. You can only remember one. Or the one that's the most emotionally moving.
Emotionally moving?
Yeah.
You can't pick a favorite child, but I'll just share a story just because it's tough.
I want to be emotionally moved.
I would say, I think Big Island Coffee Roasters is a really great story. I think they were in cohort 2, and it was a very early company when we met them. And one thing that was really exciting to me was thinking about products and innovation at the same time. So how do we take the cachet of Hawaii and Hawaiian coffee and turn it into a first of its kind new product that can have a really good chance of being successful because of everything coming in behind it. And so we had them come into Mana Up, and it was their espresso bites that was really interesting to me. So of course they're a coffee company as well. They have also a great roasting facility and coffee shop
it's
in
like
Hilo.
A candy.
No, coffee.
No, but the espresso bites is a candy.
What's new about it is it's a bar. It looks like a chocolate bar, but there's no chocolate in it. It's just coffee, cocoa butter, and sugar. The espresso bite has 3 shots of espresso in this bar, and it's basically transportable coffee. Oh. So you have it in your bag, and you just break off a bar, and you're eating literally a half an espresso shot. Mm-hmm. It's delicious, and you're never having to desperately try to find a Starbucks or go into someone's office and have some creepy cup of coffee that's been sitting since like 10 a.m. But what I loved about the two of them, and they've really built just a world-class company and actually won an award with Condé Nast as the best hotel coffee in the world. So that was a more recent accolade, which is pretty incredible. And that's really to tell the point that these companies we're working with are winning global awards. These aren't just the best in Hawaii, they're the best in the world and winning such awards, which is exciting, right? Really bringing Hawaii to like a world-class stage. But I just really appreciate both of the co-founders' execution and passion and what they've been able to build since then, and a lot more to come.
What is something from your childhood that can give us context into who you are today? You know, like this Meli James is sitting in front of me, looks like a powerful businesswoman, always confident. What is something from your younger days that would give me context into, you know, who you are?
I guess I would say that, like, when I was growing up, I never knew what I wanted to be. Like, there was nothing that spoke to me. I was like, oh, I definitely want to be a teacher or the president or whatever people, you know, gravitate towards. I was always very lost in that. I felt like, oh, wow, I wonder what my path is going to be. And I think a lot of younger kids.
Worried?
Yeah, worried. Like, I have no idea what the heck I'm going to do. And if I'm going to do something, it'll be more like this idea of adulting and like playing this role of adulting, but like not really being connected to it at all. And I think that was worrisome to me. And of course, I dove right into going to the hotel school at Cornell because it was an obvious pathway for like a safe job. I could always get a job back in Hawaii because the hotel industry is so big here. But it was also a business degree from an Ivy League school. So those are all good things too. And I thought hospitality was interesting. It's still very interesting to me. And actually, we're kind of weirdly like coming back around. Mana Up is very involved with the hospitality world here around sustainable tourism and regenerative tourism. But yeah, I was just going through school, going through the motions, you know, got my first job, going through the motions, had my quarter life crisis where I was really like, what the heck am I doing? I can't keep doing this, and like going into work and just feeling like, what else is there? Because this is not resonating at all.
How old were you?
My quarter life crisis, I was 27.
You're going to live a long time then. yeah. Doing the math on that, it's over 100. You're going to live a long time.
So, yeah, I know. I hope so.
27. Can you talk about that? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So I really was just like, is this what life is about? Like going to work and getting older and then doing like the check, so what you're supposed to do.
Was there like one specific moment that came about, or like you're sitting in your apartment or something, there's something that triggered it?
I can't tell you there was a moment where I was like, oh my God, you know, but it had been something that was festering. So I actually had started seeing a life coach even while I was still working. And through that process, she was asking a lot of very like, I wouldn't call it provocative questions, but ones that were really getting me to start thinking about my life around like, you know, what are you good at? What are you not good at? What do you like doing? What do you not like doing? And I think those are all important questions for people to ask themselves every day around. And I think the more you do that, the better decision making you can have as you learn more about who you are.
How'd you even know to get a life coach?
I know, right?
At 27? You know what I mean?
I think I was just so stuck. And I think life coaching was really early then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Like, was that even a thing? You know what I mean?
No, this is like in 2015 or something. I don't even know I can't even remember what year it was, but I could do the quick math. Yeah, I don't know. So it was a friend of a friend and really trusted. And she and I had a couple conversations and I really liked talking with her. Just a wonderful woman.
It was like you had conversations. You're like, oh, you're pretty good. And let me see if I can hire you for some sessions or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
She came highly recommended by some really close friends in Palo Alto because I was living in the city and she's from Palo Alto. Anyway, so she and I had some conversations. I really enjoyed the way she was making me think. And so like kind of through that process really started digging deeper into like, what the heck am I doing? And then I quit my job. I had, you know, some savings and just said, all right, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go hardcore into this life coaching thing and like go very intensive so that I could get through this quicker and like get on a path that, not even quicker, but like,
yeah, like
you know,
rip the Band-Aid off
yeah,
now.
like fully. Yeah. And then,
now, yeah.
And then like get on a path ideally that was like, would resonate with me and would make me feel like excited and happy to be whatever I'm doing. I was like, it has to be better than this. So anyway, I went hardcore, like major sessions, major homework.
Hardcore looks like what? So you quit your job like the next day kind of thing or?
I think I like sat on it for a little bit and it was just feeling more and more like the right decision.
Okay.
So then I quit and gave, I guess, 2 weeks. So, did that. And then started like working with my coach. We were doing twice a week and
Okay.
these sessions were, I think, at least like 3 or 4 hours long.
Oh, that's long.
Yeah.
What do you do in the 3 or 4 hours? Like, what are you doing? Or can I ask this? Or
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of reading and a lot of homework. So one example of like one of our sessions was around, an example was like, okay, on this board, we're going to like, want you to write down every single possible job or type of job or industry you ever thought was like interesting.
so like your vision board.
Yeah, like a vision board, but like eyes wide open, but like, or just sky's the limit. That there's no wrong answer. Just like throw it up on the board. And I was like, I have no idea like what this process is. I was like, all right, great. I always thought like city planning was interesting or like, wine is interesting. Just randomness, the more random, the better. But just like anything that ever like sparked an interest in your head, put it on this wall. I was like, okay, so I go through that. And then she's like, okay, well, so now as we're going to be moving into like you getting meetings and meeting with people and really discovering maybe there's something out there that you don't even know exists. And so she said, if as long as something is on this wall that's related, then you pursue that meeting. If it's not, I don't want you running all over the place, just taking all these meetings. Because a lot of times people get overwhelmed. They're like, I don't know, I could be interested in anything. It's like, it's not anything.
So you have a direction.
Yeah. And feeling like you have direction, which I think is very empowering. So that was like one of the sessions.
So you met with her in person then? Because you're doing
Oh,
stuff.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then how long? Like months?
Yeah, it definitely lasted, I'd say at least like 3 months of like very intensive sessions. And even then through that process, I was meeting with folks, right? So thinking about what could be that next thing for me.
Was it just to get career clarity then or what?
I think it was actually to shift my mindset as not being someone that being more strategic versus just being like accepting of things coming towards me. So for example, a lot of folks pick an option based on like the 4 options that are presenting themselves, as opposed to saying, I'm going to go after this and not just be picking like the things that are coming at me that I've been
try
presented.
to be a little bit more deliberate.
Yeah. So for example, like even when I was first like looking at jobs when I was graduating college, like going to these career fairs, meeting people, getting to the next level of interview in some of the meetings I had, and then going through that process and then getting an offer. So basically like I didn't go out and research a company I wanted to work for, like an industry or whatever, and like pursuing it. It was more like, these are the companies here in the career fair. I'm going to go interview with these 10. These 5 gave me a second interview. At the end of it, I got 2 offers, and then now I'm going to pick one.
The thing that I'm curious is that normally for someone to do that kind of concerted effort where you drop your and so on, there's some kind of pain going on over here. You know what I mean? There's some kind of intense pain that needs to be stopped of some sort. You know what I mean? I'm not hearing it yet on this one.
I guess for me, one, like, I felt like I wasn't even living my own life. I was like watching from the side as this like empty human was like going through these motions. And I really felt inside of me
Like
that,
you're being forced to do it that way? Or
no, just more like, and I wouldn't call it absenteeism,
like
but
rudderless?
just like rudderless, but also just like, where was that intensity or where was that like passion that like I have had, just even going through like school, but always thinking like, okay, at some point I'll figure it out. Something is going to stick, something I'm going to be excited about. And just feeling like I was going through all the things. Like I never did anything that was going to veer me into a bad direction. Like I went to Cornell, I got a degree. Like all these things are building your
all the
resume.
good girl stuff.
Yeah, like it's building your resume so that every road is open.
So tactically, strategically, that makes sense, right? Like it's
Totally. And I'm not poo-pooing anyone that does the career fair. And I'm not saying all that. I'm just saying that there was a certain point when I was like 5 years out of school. And I felt like, all right, I'm 5 years out of school and I still feel like I'm waiting to figure it out. That to me was too much, where I said, this is not okay anymore. I'm not like just looking at my options. I'm not like passive. It's 5 years out of school and I still feel like I'm just dialing it in with a job I didn't love. And I said, this is ridiculous. And I see myself doing much greater things. I think a lot of people can feel that way, and they should. But I felt that I needed to like make this major shift now, or I was going to wake up in 10 or 15 years with a lot more commitments that would make it very difficult for me to make a big change. Like the golden handcuffs that happen when people have midlife crisis. They've got a mortgage, kids, marriage, all these other things that make it very difficult to change because you're making good money and it's hard to adjust. And I didn't have that at that time, which was, I'm very grateful for.
You feel it now? I mean, you're getting closer, according to your mathematics, to that midlife piece. You
Yes,
feel it now?
but I don't feel it now because I feel like I don't have golden handcuffs because I love what I do, which I'm very grateful for.
A big need for you is freedom.
Yes. I'm
and
definitely.
Autonomy.
Yes, it always has been.
They know Meli James from Mana Up and all the, the coverage and stuff that you typically dominate in. I mean, you freaking get a lot, right? But I don't see a lot more of the other, which is what I'm actually, this is just me, right? Like, I find special about you. To me, it's like, okay, it's good. It's how we show ourselves to the world, but like, it's this other stuff is special.
Oh, I mean, I agree. I think social media is it's meant to, I guess, be like that. I could probably close my social media at this point to private, but at a certain point I had to open it out as I was doing some commercial work, and that was a requirement that people could follow me.
And that becomes part of a trap, right? Because what happens is you are so good at the personal branding part of it, which social media is a big piece of, that it's almost like the leash. I go walk my dog. I got my dog on a leash. Or does dog have me on the leash? We're both on this leash, right? So that's kind of the interesting mix to me, is that as I'm listening to this, and I've watched you throughout the last, decade or so, that this middle-aged piece where a lot of high producers this is my own anecdotal thought, are trying to figure out how to move from that pain and passion and so on into purpose and love. And to me, it feels like you're right in the middle of it.
Yeah, I would definitely say that, I guess.
It's a transition.
Yeah, transition.
It's a transition.
Yeah.
And the transitions are always like, you ever did a cold plunge?
Yeah.
It's like that, right? And that transition sucks. And then after a little while, it's like, oh, this is pretty good. But it's the transition that is super brutal, right?
Yeah, I definitely feel like the pace and the intensity that I've been going is not sustainable. And I've recognized that for a little bit now. I guess just more like peripherally getting more into like meditation. Actually, I did a 10-day silent meditation retreat and trying to think about, it's almost like forcing yourself at first into like adding new things into your routine that don't feel natural, but that you kind of know you have to start doing.
What was the hardest thing about the 10-day retreat?
So you check your phone at the door for 10 days. I missed some pretty big things, but it was more like, I would say like the voices in your head, especially like the negative ones, like having no ability to distract yourself or busy yourself or go ideally down these like coping mechanisms and roads you normally go down to make yourself feel better or not. That like you really are supposed to just be present and have your mind blank. But then of course the voices come in and they get very loud. So I think that was for me very hard because I definitely have a lot of like negative voices in my head.
Same voice or multiple? They coming from the same part or is it different?
That's like same part of like my own like life.
Your own part. Yeah, like does the voice coming from the same source or is it multiple? Or is it the same source saying all kind of different things?
Yeah, it's the same source saying
all
kind of different things. Yeah. So, and I think like for me, it's hard because kind of think, oh, I've accomplished so many things.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, is it because I'm so hard on myself? Like you got this like whip, like just constantly whipping you. So it's hard to say, oh, I don't want that anymore. Because it's like, oh, will I not like be able to like continue to accomplish or execute if I don't have this negative voice? Or like, what does a more positive voice sound like that could be more sustainable?
I have the same fear, right? The thick of like the dark night of the soul, which is we're not really who we're going to be, but we're not really done with the past one either. It's like I kind of visualize it as like the hermit crab that moves from the smaller shell in between is trying to get to the bigger shell. But that's the scariest part because now that's when it can get eaten and it's naked and so on. And I had the same thing, which is like if I heal all of these wounds now and make it so that I don't feel the intense shame or the intense fear that keeps me motivated without having to think about it and accomplishing, then can I still accomplish? You know what I mean? Because then if I don't, then I'm going to be, one, I let everybody else down. I don't be starving or what, this is a issue. And I've been grappling with that for the last probably 3 years. Because initially I was like, I don't think so. Because whenever I would heal, certain wounds, I'd be like, I'm pretty cool. I'm good. You know what I mean? I'm okay now. And then I'd be like, oh my God, I'm doing nothing. Like, I'm not getting anything done. But then what I realized actually more recently is that move from like pain to like love is the transition period piece, right? The passion, which is the root word, is pain, suffering. That's why it's Passion of the Christ. It's the suffering of Christ. Where somebody, let's say we're like marginalized as a child. So now we're all into like social justice and use pain as that. You can accomplish a whole heck of a lot with that. That's like rocket fuel, right? But the same way as rocket fuel, it's like if you gas your car all the time, like floored it, you can go faster for a short period of time and then something's going to break, right? So how does that move into like a calling, a purpose, which is the fuel of that is love, right? And then still get results that are, keep us in the lifestyle we want to have. I'm still figuring that one out, but I see it more possible now. Yeah. It's just scary. Because just that automatic, like just let fear go and so on. And then just that protective parts, just one that are good at accomplishing stuff, go to work and not have to think about it a whole hell of a lot is really enticing. I mean, for people who are used to getting a lot of stuff done that way, it's spooky to like say, oh, if I lose that, what am I? You know what I mean? My identity is in this. This is me, but it's not really me. It's just how I present myself to the world at certain points. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
But it's also like when people have known you as that, you almost feel like your self-worth is like attached to like your ability to accomplish.
Yeah, that's your identity. Like, this is me. I am. I is the me. But it's like, I'm not the me. That's not what it is. Like, if you actually were picked up and put into a whole different geographic location, nobody knew you from anything or so on, and you had all the money you needed too, and you could reinvent yourself, would it be the same? I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'm a natural like problem solver.
Yeah.
So when I see things that don't make sense or a better way to do it, it frustrates me.
But would you feel trapped that you have to do it a certain way?
No, I
what I
wouldn't.
mean?
I wouldn't. But
Yeah.
I would definitely not become a person that's just like hanging out and not doing anything. I
Yeah.
don't ever think I could be like that. Even if it would be, going to the beach and hanging out, living a life of like leisure. But I really don't think I could ever not do anything.
So it's not so much not doing anything, but it's doing it the way that feels authentic to you. So that's kind of what I was feeling like earlier when you're talking about I had to move on and get clarity. And so I like the teachings of Dr. Gabor Mate. I don't know if you've ever seen him. So he'll talk about attachment and authenticity. And he said we all have these two strong needs, attachment and authenticity, right? So attachment is like I need my caregivers, whoever is taking care of me as a child, to love me and feel that I have value or I'm dead. So if anything disrupts that, I need to make sure it's not disrupted or I'm dead. Unless someone else feels you have value, right? So then the authenticity, which is like, this is uniquely me and how I express myself to the world, that will take the back seat for attachment, which is then the piece where it's like, oh, I would love to go to, the best school, the best, whatever my parents can brag about and so on, and give up that authenticity. But as you get older, it weighs on us.
It's almost like I wish maybe it's like a short thing. If you could sign up for any like summer, month long summer something. Like what would it,
Like a tour of duty?
Not tour of, what do you mean like a tour of duty? What does that
Because
mean?
so like you ever read the book by Startup of You by Reid Hoffman from LinkedIn and so on?
I know Reid Hoffman, but I don't think
Right. I think it's the first book. It was like the startup of you.
Okay.
And he said, think about your career and so on as a startup. And it was like, think about it as a tour of duty. You go one, you can sign up for another one, or you sign up for another one. If you don't want to, you don't. And that's kind of how it is. And, you know, throughout your career, you're going through multiple tours of duties and you'd have multiple career shifts and so on, as opposed to thinking of, okay, this is my lifelong service and I'm doing this forever.
Yeah.
That would be a startup kind of frame around it.
Yeah. But I'm actually saying like with your point of like if you were to go somewhere else, have monies handled, like what would you do? So it's almost thinking about like if you had a month or two off.
What would you do?
I'm actually thinking about that. I almost feel like I would go and do like, I don't know, just like cooking classes.
Where?
Probably, I know it's easy to say Italy, but like maybe even like Morocco or something.
Have you been there before?
I have.
So like where in Morocco?
That's a good question. Probably Marrakesh. I really enjoyed Marrakesh.
Why?
Yeah. I like the kind of the intensity of like the streets and the getting lost in the and just the markets, and it was really beautiful.
So what would it be about cooking in Marrakesh that would help you to express yourself more authentically?
I just think that there's like a level of like, I wouldn't call it like humbleness, but also just like creating something that's not verbal and being able to get like creative and discovering new things, or even having the ability to understand the basics to like try something new and knowing it will like kind of work out, that I really don't have. Like I don't cook at all, but I like the idea of it.
You'd go by yourself, or you would
I go by
go
myself.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I mean, as long as there was like other people by themselves, as opposed to like going on a couples retreat and I'm by myself or something like that. But I would go by myself. Yeah. And having like the cooking thing that would be part of like learning all these kind of different elements, and then also maybe learning about the history of, you know, that region or things like that.
And then what would need to happen or not happen for it to be life-changing for you, like in a positive way?
I mean, again, I'm not saying this is like the thing, right? This is like I just came up with it. But I think it would be really nice to be able to like cook for friends and just feel like to be able to have that creativity in the kitchen would be a nice way to like relax as well, and have like more of the kinds of things I'm trying to incorporate into my life, where I'm not going out every night or have a networking event or, you know, eating whatever leftovers or whatever it is, and like actually being able to create conscious like environments and being able to invite friends over because I'm cooking something, I think is a nice complement to like some of the shifts I'm trying to make.
Would that shift be into a more intimate connection?
Yes, I think
Yeah.
so.
That's what it feels like. Then the strategy would be to cook so that you can have that connection with the food and then with yourself and the kind of the artistic expression that way, and then share that with a small group because that becomes more intimate.
And having like your home be a place that's very curated and like lovely, that you really thought about. Because I'm also like terrible at decorating, so I just need help. I know what I like and don't like, but I've always just been so impressed with folks that have like a wonderful home that's like feels very warm, and every little thing in there has been hand selected and is part of either a trip or an experience. And not to say that I don't like love my home, but I feel like I've always felt like I'd love to be able to like create an environment that just felt like I want to be home more. And I do love my home, don't get me wrong. I've got chickens, I got the whole thing.
Do you find that maybe there's a point in like your younger years where you might have wanted to go that route, but for some reason couldn't or didn't? You wanted to develop that kind of skill or, you know, endeavor, but it was like, nah, you cannot. You know what I mean? Like, not you, Mel. You're like, you're somehow almost felt like shamed out of it, maybe.
Well, I don't actually think I would ever be that's my main thing. I think that's more something
But not so
resonating
much
to
your
me
main
now.
thing, but it's like, I'm not good at this and so I don't, you know what I mean? It's like, so what? If you think about like the startup area and so on, we're fumbling with stuff all day long. It's like, how soon can we get to 18 failures so I can get to the win?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe it's a reflection of my impatience and also, you know, this constant like curiosity on moving so fast. Like, is this a moment for me to say, oh, I would enjoy going to the grocery store and picking out
Yeah.
ingredients? And like, there's a process around it, not just learning how you got to like do all the other stuff. But is that more of a reflection of like some things I would like to do more now versus like in my past? And I don't think anyone like shamed me out of it. I think it was more, I just wanted to go, go, go. And that just felt like a waste of
Got left
time.
behind.
Yeah,
Sort
it
of thing.
was just, I don't, I'd rather just go grab something really quickly. I mean, granted, it could be a salad, nothing like, not like Kentucky Fried Chicken or something, but like, you know, something quick that then I could get to whatever I needed to get to.
You know, I think I mentioned that because it's like, I know that for myself, I'll tend to, whatever's going on internally, I'll project it outwardly onto somebody or the world or so on. And my thought on it is that I'll do that because it's external now. And if I can, you know, fix it or whatever externally, then that will do something for me internally. So when I listen to this, it's like, okay, you just went on a 10-day silent meditation retreat, right? No phones, no external, anything. Basically, you're constrained to having to spend time with yourself, right? In a meaningful way with no talking. And then when you said what I would love to do or try out is go somewhere and artistically express myself without talking. It's interesting.
Well, yes, so that is interesting. And I think that was something I realized about myself was I was excited not to talk. I talk a lot. And I realized because I talk so much during the day on the phone or in meetings, presenting, that I at night, like, I never thought of myself as an introvert, and I'm not. I am an extrovert. But I have a lot more of those, like, needing to, like, rebalance. And I really was excited to not talk for 10 days, actually. Even though at a certain point after day 3 or 4, I was thinking, am I going to make it? This is really intense. But it was after I was done, I was like not excited to come out and start talking again. And that was something I learned that I didn't ever think I was gonna enjoy. Or I guess think about a different side of me or maybe a shift that's going on.
Did you find that your relationship internally changed?
Oh, yes. Yeah. And I definitely have gone through other experiences, you know, similarly to a 10-day silent meditation retreat to really like trust myself. I do trust myself and I can be in lots of situations that I trust myself like implicitly.
Trust yourself to do what or to not do what? That you'll make the right decisions?
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
you can handle yourself?
Yeah.
You said you trust yourself implicitly, right? That you would make the right decision and you can handle yourself. Do you trust yourself implicitly that you can be fully compassionate with yourself and accepting?
No, definitely not.
How much did that move during the meditation retreat?
I think I started addressing the negative voices, and that's a piece of it. But I don't believe I have moved enough in a direction of like being compassionate with myself because I'm still very hard on myself because I don't think I've been able to kind of give up what that I believe has been like positive for me, but I actually don't believe it is actually positive. I think it's not sustainable. Like at some point, what worked for me then and kind of now is not going to work in the future. And if I don't start addressing the new way I want to excite, motivate, keep me engaged is gonna implode and that will not be good.
To me, it feels like this next, I don't know, whatever it is, but the next transition. That other one was a big one, you know, the 27-year-old one and so on and stuff. That's a big one, right? Do a whole new move. And this one doesn't feel as jagged, like as like jerky, but in terms of like scope and or like the import, it's kind of feels the same. The shift is significant.
The shift is significant, but I guess if I think about it as like, oh, I had to quarter life crisis, I didn't have all these things. It was easy. Now, if you think about a midlife crisis, and I'm not in a crisis, but I'm in a shift. But I feel like, is it harder because there's so much more at stake, or there's so much more that I've built that I really do feel passionate about and love? But what does a shift look like?
So here's the question on that
Okay.
then. If you make it successfully through this next kind of shift, how can that be the best thing for the people in your cohort and your company?
I mean, I think it's obvious. If you're happy and content and in a better space where you feel like you're continuing to grow and you feel, I guess, positive and good and, balanced, that will be good for everyone around you. And especially as, our company's growing and it's not the same company it was 5 years ago. And it kind of requires different and new skill sets, actually. So it actually complements that. I guess the point is, it's not a bad thing.
So can you see how this next transition actually, if you don't go through it, would hinder the company?
Yes.
Like how? What do you see on that?
I think that when we first started, there was a lot of like wearing 15 hats and like just, I wouldn't call it chaos, but it's chaotic in a startup. And, having a lot of just delving into so many like little things to try to build a very like niche program that hadn't been done before here, which is just a lot of just like the stuff. And I think now that we've got a great team and we're almost becoming a small, medium-sized company that's got a lot of people working there and they've got great roles, and we're having to kind of grow more of like this stronger like bone structure that is structured, and it isn't going to be as wearing 15 hats or being more chaotic or just squirrel like diving into this thing over here just because. And that, there's a lot of more like intention that needs to happen around some very specific areas that we're growing, and we know we are, that is also going to take a lot of like thought leadership and like intensive like strategic thought that need that kind of time that I won't be able to do if I'm running around. So that is also exciting, where it's like we're now in like our 8th year. We've got like 45 employees and we've built a lot, not just the Accelerator now. We've got the venture fund, we have our fulfillment center, our retail initiative, our foundation. So there's a lot that's behind what had been this idea.
And you have a secret weapon in there.
And we have a secret weapon.
Subhash Bratton. That's my shout out to you, Subhash Bratton.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he's just, actually, I think his first day is today. But yeah, so yeah, we got interns, and we had a lot of interns apply. And so we've got a great crew of, I think we've got 5 this summer that, are really in key areas. Anyway, but long story short, we have directors and departments now, and it's a natural shift that needs to happen. I think in my like idea of myself as being like a true like startup entrepreneur, like solving problems, like I love starting things.
Yeah.
That is challenging for me to transition because it feels like,
is this me now?
Yeah.
You're growing into it, or somebody else come in and do it, because
Yeah.
I don't do this.
Yeah,
You know
like,
what I mean? Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and
I know
like
exactly.
To be honest, like Brittany, my co-founder, is more in the operations side of the business, right? That's not as much my role, and it really shouldn't be, because I don't want to be in that role.
Yeah.
But even with that, like on the side that I'm on, the fundraising, business development, and just the strategic planning and like where we're headed next, I do need to make room for this shift, continue to transition, and actually like embrace it as almost like it's your own startup, right? The startup of me.
Yep.
And being excited about what newness can become from this, as opposed to being like, oh my God, now I'm becoming like that person,
That's the hard thing, because I find that I'm going through the same kind of piece. Do I become the person that can do the mundane, what I view as mundane kind of tasks, or do I want to keep doing what I've always done? I don't feel like I've had a super good answer on that one. But yeah, I mean, when you look at the growth of your company, you either got to grow into that role or someone else recruit into it, which might not be fully entirely a bad thing, right? It's just then at that point, then who is Meli James? It becomes a tough one. But it could also be that externally, what's happening internally, you throw it out externally and then you adjust it externally, and that helps to more or less fix internal, or at least try.
Like, say it out loud, you mean? From an external standpoint?
It's like perception is projection. Like how we view things, our own reality, so on, is what we will then project and see onto the world, right? So if I believe internally that everybody's good and loving and so on, that's what I'm going to see, because I'm going to filter everything else out unconsciously, right? But if I feel like the world's dangerous, everybody's dangerous, someone's out to get me and so on, things get filtered out kind of for that. I find that in the businesses that I do, that's what it ends up being, is that it's like an external projection of whatever is going on inside of me internally, that I can tangibly try to work on this business, which is really giving me some distance to try to do it internally. Although sometimes it just makes sense to do, it's probably more effective just to do the internal work, but it's harder because who wants to do that? You know what I mean? God dang, that's hard. It's painful. I don't do that. Easier to fix somebody else, right? So, or something else.
Yeah. And sometimes it takes like having a conversation like this that really make the pieces come together in a way that feels like connected to like everything else, right? It's like, yes, the company has changed. Yes, I have internal things that are shifting for me as I'm coming into my next I mean, I'm not really quite at the exact midlife. But
You're not. You're still way younger than your math goes out. But,
yeah.
But like
Okay, whatever that was. Yeah.
stage wise, it's
Yeah.
like you're leveling up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which actually would be an interesting example, because it's because, like, it's like do as I say, not as I do. Like with their parents, like they say, don't smoke, but all they do is smoke. Like that doesn't really work. I kind of wonder too, then, if, in an accelerator, which is, helping to accelerate your company and then led by somebody, right? But people are kind of following a lead to an extent, like almost like we we're chatting about earlier. They're following a lead. So we have a bunch of entrepreneurs in here that said, I see something, I'm going to package it up, and now I'm getting it to market. And they use all of that energy and inertia to get through there to get to $100,000 a year in sales. That's an incredible amount of energy. You have to have a lot of like jet fuel to make that happen, because unless it's just complete unbelievable product market fit right off the bat, then you're going to have to push through, and it requires that the pain of pushing through is less than whatever pain is driving it, right? So everybody at some point is on this kind of like curve of getting there. You just happen to be there earlier than them. So they're watching. This is my theory. They're watching, right? Are you going to make it through? And then when you make it through, then you can help guide them through, because the more whole they are, typically the more whole their companies can be. And if you look at the companies in particular, you typically will see they're super good at this and suck bad at this. Unless, put the people in place or whatever to do that. And that is pretty exactly to the personality and so on of that person.
I would agree with that. I mean, I also would agree that the way that we constructed this program and what our focus is, all the companies are headquartered here. They're all revenue generating. Almost all of them are still in existence. And now average revenue is over $1 million per company. So like now, in addition to like that first piece, we are like have very robust programming to help them get from 1 million to 10. And those challenges are totally different.
Way different.
Even similarly to like what I was talking about around our own company, creating the infrastructure and bone structure and actual like creating a business that has like departments and culture and all the stuff that's totally different. Like what got you to the first milestone is not going to get you to the second. So like to that point, we're in it with them right now, and we're in it ourselves too, and I guess I'm in it too.
I mean, think about it. There's not that many that can go as a startup idea to, market and so on, and then go all the way up, like a Zuckerberg or something like that. That's rare. You know what I mean? Somebody can do that. What's less rare is somebody goes in the startup phase, gets it to a certain point, either gets kicked out or they implement new professional management, and then they get to another point, and then they replace that again and replace it and replace it and replace it. That's more common, but I don't know. To me, this whole piece of like entrepreneurship and so on, I think Donovan K. Aloha is the one that brought it up to me before. He read some book and it said like entrepreneurs are comfortable in chaos because they typically had a chaotic upbringing. I was like, well, that's kind of interesting. Used to being able to put parts together and kind of fix things because that's what we had to do when we were young. And I don't know about you, if you agree with this or what, but you can typically tell somebody who's like an entrepreneur and so on in the room. Same way like you go to like SeaWorld and then it's like that person's from Hawaii. So how you know? They got on cooler in the back and came in late. They got slippers. That's a Hawaii person right there. You know what I mean? Like it sticks out. And I kind of feel that way a lot about entrepreneurs and so on. It's like you see each other across the room. It's kind of like, you're one. You're a little neurodivergent and something is different. And I'm one of them. You know what I mean? I kind of feel like that too. So this next kind of group kind of leveling up, right? Which is from 100,000 to a million, and then you go 1,000,000 to 10 million, so on. That's just the external kind of piece around it. Whoever's driving that has to grow too. And a lot of it is going to be that relationship with themselves. That's my theory.
Agreed. It's all gelling together. I'm very grateful for this conversation,
Yeah.
Evan.
Tell me how it's gelling together. Tell me.
Well, I think I hadn't in the past like really thought around the connectivity and actually positivity of like this transition and it actually is necessary, as opposed to like transitioning out or away or having it be negative or detrimental for like the business or my own identity. It's actually like very complimentary, and that makes it, in a weird way, kind of makes it an easier decision to lean into it.
It's like puberty.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like puberty. Your body's changing everything, and then it's an awkward transition, but it's needed. At least with myself, I remember when I was younger, my mom would always be like, dude, seriously, you got to behave, because what are you going to do when you get older? I remember this. We were in the station wagon, right? Driving up the street, and she was like, you keep getting in trouble. What are you going to do? I was like, I'm going to work for myself. I had no clue what the heck that even meant. I just kind of realized that probably going to be much harder the other route of getting someone to hire me or so on. So I'm going to work for myself. And I remember that's what it was like. I'm going to be able to prove and show to everybody that I'm something because I'm going to accomplish things. And it worked for a while, up until like 40 something years old. It works until it doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or just like feeling, I guess the idea is like the basic way is it's just not inspired. I wouldn't call it like anything depression, but just like that what else, like not feeling content. Or maybe it's just not using the busying yourself as like a distraction.
Yeah, or numb it out.
Or numb it out, or just like a coping mechanism to whatever it might be.
Yeah, it's like the workaholism is the same thing, is the same type of addiction as an eating disorder, as gambling, sex, drugs, alcohol. It's just another way to numb it out, distract against it, dissociate, so I don't have to feel it. Same thing, like every other one. The scary part is going through it if you feel like you got to go through it on your own. Like I know that in the heat of it, when I was going through all of my own kind of challenges and so on, that I sought out people, because I almost like just tell them, hey, I got problems, oh, I got problems. Okay, we can, trauma bond on that, right? But that's kind of how it is too with entrepreneurs, I think, right? Like, okay, I'm accepted into this. You accept me, I accept you, and this is kind of how we're moving together, and I feel connected this way.
When we do that at Mana Up, like we create these wonderful environments for the companies to, build trust with each other and create like this very trusted network, which is, we all know entrepreneurship can be lonely. So It's interesting where we're creating this environment. We have 95 companies that have now graduated from the program. Many of them are extremely close, doing collaborations or like all this positivity. But it's like on my side, normally being the facilitator or creator of the environment, how do I step into like a role of like not being the person in charge, but also being open to being vulnerable and learning around change?
You mean like how do you provide the environment, hold the space while also exist in it?
Either exist in it or exist in it somewhere else. Maybe it doesn't make sense to exist in it when you're creating the environment for everyone else to go through what they need to. I don't know if that makes sense.
Unless what's happening is the unconscious strategy of creating the environment was so you could participate in it. I'll give you an example because I see you going, So I always talk about these groups, right? I'm like, I'm going to do these groups and the healing groups. And these are groups for people to come together, especially like high producing people, very capable, that want to have a space to be able to connect in a more like deeper and meaningful way to kind of accelerate all of our own healing. So the community and group energy creates synergy so that we can basically make it through our individual process much. It's almost like working out. You know what I mean? I could work out by myself, but if I work out in the group's energy tends to help me do my own kind of workout. And I was like, I got to do these groups and this and that. But essentially what it is that when I really ponder and meditate on it is I like these groups because this is what I need. I'll give you another example of this. So I just went through another ayahuasca ceremony and I had 2 nights of it. I basically had a friend come with me and I was like, okay, I'm going to help this friend out because they need help and so on. And on the last night, which was super duper hard, like the first night was so like, I was like, oh, I can do this all day long. It's actually kind of cruise. Second night, I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I can ever handle this. It was so hard. I didn't know if I was coming back. But at the end, it was not fully done. I needed something else to be done. And my friend helped me. I asked him, and my friend helped me with that. And then what I realized later, I was like, I recruited you to heal me. If I circle back to that, which is your question of can I provide this environment and sit in it, and then can I exist in it? Is it that environment provided because that's what you need?
No, I guess I need to think through this more, but I feel like the environment that we've created for the companies and what we're building, which is important for the ecosystem as well as our company and for a lot of these entrepreneurs. I don't know. I guess I feel sometimes where like I'm supposed to be seen as this like strong leader because that really helps them feel like there's a smooth pathway for success and like we're providing all these things and like it's almost like success breeds success and that the companies feel like confident knowing that like we got their back. And if there is an area, a gap, like we'll help figure out where to help get those resources or partners or whatever, introductions. So I don't feel like it's my role or place to be like sitting alongside them, kind of going through stuff. I feel like it better serves me and them where I am going through it in another kind of group, not that environment. I just don't feel like that's appropriate.
That makes sense. I think what I was saying was that less than the structural kind of like framework of the program and what it's offered, like logistically, like you get these services and so on. When we're talking about like, this is the space that I hold in this group so that people can come together energetically in order to create true connection and help each other out in that framework. And then it's like, I'm wondering if I sit into that or if I just lead it or do I do something separately or so on. That is the piece I was wondering on, right? Which is this put together here because it's something I'm familiar with, I can do, and I have it at a distance that I can organize it because that's what I really need, whether it's I need it in this framework or not. That was my question.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, like recognizing the importance of it and that it is possible. We felt it's important enough to really curate this amazing place and space for that. So like taking like our own medicine and, recognizing how important that could be for myself, I guess. I can speak for myself.
What do you think is most needed by these entrepreneurs in your cohorts that's not like financial for them to feel whole?
I'd say like a compelling narrative, like the magic of storytelling, creating something compelling and succinct that's going to be seen as a global brand and potential for global expansion is important. I mean, just kind of leveling up on even just that mindset shift. So there's that storytelling aspect, right? Which is so important. And it's not a story. It's not a 30-minute story. It's like a 30-second or like what's on the box or like all of these different pieces that are really important for all of the little decisions that have to be made for someone to even pick up the box and put in their basket and like buy or like.
Is there a formulaic way of doing that or no?
Yeah, I mean, there's little decisions people make at every moment, right? It's like, does it look pretty on the shelf? I mean, this is if you're in the store, right? As opposed to online. Or does it look pretty online? Is there a catchphrase or is there a value statement in their Instagram that aligns with someone? How are they telling like the backstory of the business, who they are their values aligned, like elements. So then it has to actually like be a quality product. And then, then how are you staying on their radar? It's just, there's so many little things about it that's really important. But I would say in addition to that, it's like, I think for all the entrepreneurs, that's like a mindset shift that like they can become global brands. And that sometimes it's tough here, especially in Hawaii. It's like this idea of like, oh, the price of paradise, oh, it's Hawaii, or like all these things that we're coming into it and not feeling like we're world class versus all the ego that's in Silicon Valley. And, everybody's an entrepreneur and in Palo Alto and they got the, $1 billion idea. And there's a lot of that kind of like confidence and ego. Like even for myself, when I go to the East Coast, if I'm at a conference speaking at something, there'll be speakers out there just like throwing out there like, oh, I'm a badass and all this. And I'm like, what we've accomplished compared to what you've done is like nothing. I mean, we've accomplished so much more. And it's like, I think we have this natural humbleness here and a natural like, not trying to make like big body or whatever you want to call it. And it's funny when I go to the East Coast or even like the West Coast, that's like, I got to slap myself a little bit and be like, all right, Melly, you got to like do the thing because it doesn't feel natural to do it here. But it's like
the silent insecurity.
I guess there is an insecurity,
Yeah.
But I think it's all of us recognizing like the stuff that we're doing is incredible. And like, I will at certain points, like boil down, like what has this person who just thinks they're such a badass in this conference have they actually done that would make me feel insecure? It's like, that is insane. But it's just like the natural way we are. But anyway, so the point I'm making is the mindset shift that the entrepreneurs need to have to say, I am creating a badass global company from right here in Hawaii. And it's absolutely possible. And there's a road to it. And like moving as such. I think all of us need to have more of that kind of mindset shift.
How do you do it?
So we do it in different ways. I mean, of course, there's like that kind of leadership talks around. So much of your perspective is based on like the people you're arm's length away from, the people in the room, the people you've had conversations with, having that kind of like rubbing shoulders. So we bring in a lot of different speakers that are amazing, like the founder and CEO of Panda Express. Like he's come in to give a talk. Oh. Just even being able to have that kind of like perspective and asking questions and rubbing elbows or whatever it is. It's like, it just elevates this shift around like who's in the room with you. And I think that's really important. So that's part of what we do at Mana Up. Another part is, of course, we do really major deep dives with each company. We fly to their location, get into the guts of what their business is, where their challenges are, and start like really pinpointing what we're going to work on specifically with that company as opposed to what we're working on with somebody else. Introductions, resources, mentors, access, all that stuff is like really, really curated, very particular to each company in our one-on-ones. That's every week that we do with each company.
What's your force multiplier that you need to focus on now personally that would have the biggest impact on everything else in your life?
I mean, health is an easy one just because I think it's easy to say.
What do you mean?
Like just incorporating more healthy lifestyle. So, exercising daily, going to sleep as soon as I think I want to go to sleep, as opposed to watching like half an hour of TV and then suddenly it's like midnight or something. Or being out more like at events and like leaving earlier, You don't have to be there.
Didn't we talk about this last year? And it was like, I need to be healthier. And it was like, you should go swimming now.
Well, I went swimming this morning.
Is that when you started? Was it
No,
then?
I was swimming. I took a long pause.
Was that when you restarted it?
Maybe that's when I restarted,
you committed on that. You said, okay, I'm going to do it. And then.
Yeah. I started swimming again. Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think the health piece is interesting, and that comes with a lot of things, like whether that's just eating healthier, like actually, vitamins and supplements and sleep and all that. So there's that piece. But I also think the mental part around the slowing down of like, where are there areas that I need to dig into more that I'm not really versed in? Like, I don't know that I need to be knowing more.
Like what?
Like, for example, with a lot of like our investments, and now that, we've got bigger investments, really creating a broader network of like investors that can come in alongside us or potential acquirers or investors that are coming in later, and having much more of that broader network, which is going to be on the mainland.
That'd be more like private equity firms or something, right?
Yeah, it would
Yeah.
be like more mature VC funds as well as PE. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. But even just more digging into like all of that, which is exciting. Actually, it's very different, but it's having that time to do more of that stuff and just network and get into this whole other realm. That's really important.
Which part of yourself do you need to create a stronger connection with that would have the most impact on your life and that would make the biggest impact on kind of your overall well-being?
That's a good question. I'm trying to think through it. And I'm not sure I fully understand it.
Inner part of yourself
Okay.
that if you had a stronger and more healthy relationship with that part of yourself
Okay.
would create much more wellness and like a healthy impact in your life.
So I guess the relationship with myself, maybe more around like showing up as you are and your self-worth and not being having it be so tied to like the accomplishing and being okay to just, I guess, show up and sometimes disappear and be learning that doesn't have anything to do with anybody knowing about what that is or having accolades around it.
So being a human being and not a human doing.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And being okay with that.
Tell me who has been the most impactful person in your entire life on you?
I don't have one. That's the most.
You gotta choose one.
Oh, okay. I guess if I have to pick just one.
One. Yep. And everything else is wiped out.
I guess it'd be like my great uncle.
So can you share a story about your great uncle that would give us context into who he was to you?
Okay. So my great uncle had like a very like interesting past or life path. He was a hermit. He traveled around the US selling knives. He lived in Hollywood, dated a whole bunch of actresses. Just lived really incredible. He was a real thinker, like a deep thinker. He is my grandmother's brother. I guess they're both passed now. But yeah, he like definitely helped me think differently. He was giving me books, teaching me words that were like not words you never like learn about or know about, like ineffable. He taught me that word. But he was just like someone that was really made me realize that thinking differently was okay and thinking beyond.
So if you could only remember one memory with him, like your most special memory or your most special story with him, what would it be?
Let's see. Well, he taught me how to drive. I almost got pulled over. That's more of a funny story, though. I think if I had gotten pulled over, I probably would have never got my license because I wasn't even like 14 or something on the freeway during a camping trip.
Tell the story if you want.
Yeah, so basically we were doing these like back roads and like we would go to this place called Dead Man Creek in like Southern California. I guess maybe near Yosemite. And like every other year, our whole family would come down and go to these camping. And he was a big camper. He was just like lived out of a trailer with a truck for like many, many years before he built his cabin in Arizona and then was there for those last 15 years. So anyway, he was like convinced my parents that like I should like start learning how to drive. And I think I was like maybe 14 or something. Definitely not in like permit age even. But we're on these like back roads in his truck and whatever. And then he's like, okay, well, why don't we just do a little bit of like highway driving and just get on here and then get off of the next exit. Just like try it. It's just like a straight path. So we're only done like dirt roads. Anyway, we get on the freeway or the highway and I'm just like, I don't think either of us were like paying attention to like the speed limit. And I was just like going pretty like fast because it was like the first time I'd ever like gone fast because like dirt roads, you can't go very fast. Anyway, this highway patrol car like pulls up like as we're going like next to us and just like turns and is like, and I was like took my foot off the gas and was like immediately started slowing. And I was like, my heart was like racing so much because I'm like, oh my God, if I actually get pulled over right now, I don't even have a permit. I won't be able to get my license until I'm 20 or something. My whole life will be over or something where when kids actually cared if they got their license. Now, apparently nobody cares anymore. But there was no Uber and our life would be like over. But anyway, it was like this very memorable experience of just, he was always like kind of breaking the rules, but just, it was just like this really funny moment, which I don't even think we told my parents about till like way later.
You probably look 10 years old.
I know, totally.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
and the guy was just like, oh my God. But I would say like a really memorable experience I had with him was just like going on these hikes and learning about the trees and just like taking a moment to just like breathe and like sit with yourself. And that was like really important to me, to like start to notice what's around you and like feeling something and just like sitting down and just sitting with it. And that was probably like the first time I ever like had that opportunity to do that, because everything is just always like running around, soccer practice, tennis practice, this or that. But being in nature and like really feeling like connected to your thoughts and like moments.
So did the 10-day silent retreat remind you of your great uncle?
No, it didn't actually. And the reason why is because it's a Vipassana meditation style. And so you're not supposed to think of anything. Your mind is supposed to be blank. You can't even notice the sunset or the trees because that's a distraction. I guess in some ways it did, because I was up at the Boy Scouts camp in Pupukea.
Or like looking back at it now, does it
Yeah.
remind you of your great uncle?
Yeah, I would say now, looking back at it, like having that kind of silence and silencing your mind and like being present. Yeah.
Starting to come together. At least for me. I don't know. Now you get a second one. So if you had a second
Oh my
person,
God,
now I narrowed you to one, but you get two.
That's okay. That's okay.
Who would it be?
I honestly, like, for me to have a second one, I don't feel it would be fair. I have so many. I'm trying to.
Okay, choose one that's meaningful.
I actually have like a really hard time like with this one, because I do have mentors, but they're all in very specific aspects of my life.
Doesn't have to be a mentor. It's just anybody.
I would say my best friend from high school, Melissa. She really helped teach me how to like not just use my voice, but also like be very quick. Being able to like banter and be very quick-witted and be able to formulate strategically or like a argument because I felt a different way or we were going down some rabbit hole. It really like kept me on my toes.
What was your favorite moment with her?
We had this moment in Paris. She was studying abroad and we got into some huge fight. And it was, it was kind of a pretty epic fight. But she's like my sister. But I mean, I don't know how entertaining the story is, but we got into this huge fight. And then I left Paris to go back to school. And then we didn't talk to each other for like 2 months. It was like the longest time we ever like didn't speak. But it was probably like the first time like when we actually like chose to get together and talk and actually like create an environment to like share my experience of what had happened and like talk through it. And that's kind of sad, where I guess it was one of the first times where it's like someone that's so important to you and something that's so dramatic, which probably really wasn't, but then like not talking to them for 2 months and having it be like festering, and then making a conscious effort to say, this person's important to me and this is like dumb and we need to come together to like talk it out and think through like, why was this important? Why was this important enough to like come back together after whatever had happened? Because I think when you're younger, you just like let things like fall away, or something either naturally like, oh, you see them and then you like just start talking again, as opposed to thinking through what and why and putting yourself out there to kind of like hash it out and make you stronger as friends.
I feel like I put you through enough already today.
It's rocking.
You know what I mean? I'm gauging it in my head like, I think her nervous system's been through enough today with me. So I just want to thank you for coming today, sharing your business and your inner world with me. I've appreciated your friendship over the years, and I just want to acknowledge you for all that you're doing.
Thank you, Evan. Well, thank you for having me. I know you're very thoughtful about who you have on the show. So I appreciate One, that, we've been friends for so long and gone through a lot together, many different careers, feeling like the work that we're doing is like important, and that myself as well, just as a contributor to the community. So thank you.
If you resonate with Greater Good Radio, please join our community at www.greatergoodradio.com, where you can get access to exclusive content and offerings. Hope to see you soon.